So ang problema is we, as a country and as a people, we fail to uh, make sure that we are all these stories are kept and remembered right after EDSA. So right after EDSA, what happened to us is that we everybody in took over whatever they've left behind and continued without recognizing that there's a possibility that there will be a comeback of the Marcos family, and that's what happened during the last election for the presidency. Uh, the young voters are no longer aware of what happened during martial law, and then they can claim that during martial law is the golden years of the Philippines, which is completely wrong. So I think it's important that, especially now, that there is a uh, really effort on the part of the Marcos administration to cloud over the issues what happened during martial law. It's important that we remind ourselves and our people and our especially the youth that what happened during that period.
Kaya nga po, the administration is downplaying EDSA as a holiday, but the private schools are celebrating in their own ways, no?
Yes.
Canceling
Yeah.
classes, having alternative classes. So I at may pushback doon sa attempts ng government to whitewash, di ba?
Yeah.
Yung history.
I think it's a miscalculation on the part of the Marcos administration by canceling the event, which has been held annually for so many years. Yeah, people have reacted, and now a reaction from the schools of having the holiday and celebrating what happened in EDSA is very important. It's also important for us to make sure that we remind our people and our country what really happened during martial law. And I hope my book and can contribute to that. And it's really important that all of us have to do our share related to this issue. It's no longer an issue because you're an activist. You can do this. Every Filipino should be responsible to make sure that we never forget this. One lesson that I found I more or less established in the book is most of the people who were uh, jailed and tortured during martial law did not end up in the mountains, but they
Yeah.
end up in our government. Butch Dalisay, Diwa
Yes.
Ginagundo, Joan Maglipon. They become editors and governors of Banco Central and
I
other
know
people.
several people
So
here.
the it made them a better person being an
Yeah.
activist. So the
Yes.
notion that don't send your kid to UP because there might be an activist is wrong. They might be involved in national issues, but at the same time, it makes them a stronger person to be able to help our country long term.
Yes. One of the people here, Diwa Ginugundo, is a deputy governor of the central bank.
That's right.
No.
That's right.
And then uh, this one, Philip Zuzara, I know him. Maybe I'll invite him in one of
Yeah.
the episodes. But I've known Philip. I met him in the late 90s now when we were trying to push for anti-corruption reform. And then I saw him again last month when we had the rally ng January, an anti-corruption rally. So, nakakaaliw lang na, well, martial law, aktivista na siya hanggang ngayon, no? Gusto
Yeah.
ko siyang tanungin kung di ba siya napapagod sa kakaprotesta.
Well, I think I don't know Philip Sosara personally. Through the network, I was able to contact him and took the picture and hear his story. Uh, what I did in the book is to make sure that everybody is represented because, as we know, there are different groups in the Philippines: the NDs, the Akbayan, the
Yeah.
Light of Fire, everybody. But everyone participated during martial law. Everyone was a victim of human rights violation during martial law. So when I was working on the project, I decided that I must include everyone, because
Mm.
if I just isolate one group and highlight one group, it will be wrong because
Yeah.
everybody made contribution.
So, kanina we had Nery Colmenares. This one is
Eta Rizal.
Eta Rosales of
Yeah,
Akbayan.
So,
yeah.
may
So
common theme ba tong mga sacrifices nila? I mean, what's common about them? They've been arrested, they were detained, they were tortured.
uh, what happened? Most of them, I think, were doing work during martial law already,
Yeah.
but the torture are different. Some of them continued in the business of activism. Many of them were charged, incarcerated, and tortured, but never been charged of a crime. One of them is Pat Roque, who became a photographer for the Associated Press. And of course, Butch Dalisay was in jail and became a major uh, person in our literary community. So that's why the common thread that for them is they have sentiments against human rights violation. They have
Mm.
shared um, sentiments about martial law at different levels. The contributions are at different level. Some went to the mountains. Some really became part of organized group like Rami Bailosis and like Fidel Akawili being jailed for the longest time, about 10 years. And then Raul Daza. And there are also working on this project. I found out things that I don't know, like the massacre in Mindanao that happened. I remember when I was at the CHR making pictures, I photographed a Muslim mother, and she said 5 of my kids were killed, and some of them were hanged and burned from the ground by the military.
Kaya po, I had to ask kasi si Enrile not too long ago said, nung martial law, wala daw kinulong ni isang tao. I mean,
No, that's
that's the way
that.
they're revising history.
Well, I think it really is trying to, you know, distort history. I because many of the people he knows were also in jail.
Yeah. The fact that we met many of these people, tapos hindi sila naubusan ng energy. Di ba? I
Yeah.
mean, they find other ways to make changes. So parang feeling ko I don't have the right to be tired. Kasi I see people way older than me na up to now or
Yeah. May
Yeah,
Rodriguez,
of
magkasama
course.
pa rin po kami ngayon sa Wag Kang Kukurap.
Yeah, I think what's important here is, and it's true to a lot of people. Once you become conscious of the issues, and you become concerned about human rights violation and all this kind of stuff, it will never leave you anymore.
yeah.
So throughout your life, you become concerned about that, and in many different ways, we do our share. You can still go to a rally, uh, go to meetings, talk to the person, but I think that kind of activism should be done by the Filipinos now, especially during this time of election. Because if you, the one issue that I'm really concerned about is we've been electing people in Congress and the Senate just because they're popular, they become senators and congressmen. And I've been in the Senate several times making pictures, and I saw how they perform. In fact, it's on YouTube. But I think if we this is happening for several elections already, and we continue electing them, but there's no concerted effort from the citizenry to remind our kababayan that they are not qualified to be senators and members of the legislature.
Maybe the next book that you should do would be an evolution of the Philippine Senate, how it has degrade
Deteriorated.
deteriorated over the years. Going back and forth in the Philippines, taking photos. You've experienced martial law, post-martial law, tokhang, hanggang ngayon. What is your reflection of the...
Well, I think um, part of the reason why I'm still concerned in the Philippines, and it's unfortunate that many people who are balikbayan are, go home just to spend time and show what they've done in their lives, but not concerned already of what's happening in the country. And I think I'm a different person compared to that because I'm really concerned of what's happening in our country. And in fact, people will say, "Oh, do you live in the Philippines?" I said, "No." How come you know everything? Because I read the papers every day. I talk to people every day, and that's how it's very important. There might be political differences, ideological differences, but just look for the common ground, common thing
Mhm,
that we can work together for the sake of our country.
mhm,
And that's very important. I think it's important that his message, be it's loud and clear that there's now a need for all of us, regardless of your political affiliation,
mhm,
your ideological foundation. We must have to work together because our country really needs change
mhm,
at many,
mhm,
many levels, and especially education. Education
mhm,
is something that will help everyone if everybody's get better school and with more knowledge to do the work that we need to do.
mhm. Actually, marami nga pong Filipinos even outside the country who continue to be very concerned sa kinakalagyan, kinatutunguhan ng ating bansa. Dito po yung madalas na nakakasama natin dito sa YouTube channel natin sa comment section. Maraming mga Pilipino na nakatira na sa ibang bansa pero directly messaging me nung kanilang mga concerns. So nakakatuwa po actually na patuloy pa rin, marami pa rin mga Pilipino yung patuloy na nagsusumikap imulat yung mga
Yeah,
tao.
I think the Filipinos overseas still love the Philippines,
Mhm.
but the problem is they cannot find a way to where to contribute. It has to be something that has to be organized. There's
Mhm.
also a common thing about among Filipinos that, oh, we're asking to donate something, baka hindi na makarating sa pupuntahan.
Mhm.
So that's another issue that has to be addressed. So and it's really important because the overseas Filipinos is a very good resource. Maraming salamat din for
Opo.
what you guys are doing for our country. It's really important to have a vehicle to tell stories,
Mhm.
especially while I don't know the range of your audience. I think if there's a message that we can say is for those people who understand the issues that affect our country, don't settle for just understanding it, but do
Mhm.
something about it and tell the next person next to us, our katulong or people in the street, to make sure
Mhm.
that we can make some changes. Yeah,
Mhm.
and the coming election will be very interesting, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the
Are you
ayuda.
optimistic?
Not really, because the ayuda is still there, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that really clouds the decision of voters. Because
Mhm.
I always used to say that if you have five families, members of a family, five voters in a family, and if they'll be given like 10,000 each, so
Mhm.
it's the first time for a family to have
Much more.
50,000 pesos at one
Yes.
time,
Mhm.
and that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah.
So and it shows on the issue about budget
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
you are trying to to expose,
Yeah.
and it's also affects the issue of our educational system.
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, Sani Angara lost so many billions on the budget allocation
Yes.
unknowingly,
Mm-hmm.
but hopefully it's going to get corrected. But
Mm-mm.
I think it's what's really important is we as a people, no matter in our what situation we're in, we need to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
Help not only ourselves, but help the people who are really in need.